guests. If you were to check into a really nice hotel in a city, and as soon as you got to the room, you would just strip the bed of the blankets, the sheets, and the pillows and put them on the floor to get ready for bed. You might think that's a little bit weird, perhaps. Maybe you're one of these ascetics, the type of people that really want to deprive themselves of any pleasure, that type of thing. Well, good evening, fellow Toastmasters guests. That's exactly what I did back in 2017. I attended the Toastmasters International Convention in Vancouver, British Columbia. I was staying at the Marriott Hotel right downtown, probably a 4 or 5 star hotel. But that's exactly what I did. And the reason was I was having some pretty severe back problems at the time. And the only way I could sleep was to lie flat on the floor. The thought of sleeping in a soft bed with my back flexed was extremely painful. I attended, as I said, the Toastmasters convention in Vancouver, one of my favorite cities. If I had to buy a house, that's exactly where it would be. It would be Vancouver, British Columbia. And the reason it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and furthermore, I lived there for 3 years, went to graduate school. And so you might ask why, if I was in so much pain, why would I go to Vancouver? Well, it's a beautiful city, I love it. And secondly, I was going to have an opportunity to meet with my former thesis advisor at the University of British Columbia on this particular trip. But of course, the Toastmasters International Convention was a draw as well. I had been in Toastmasters at that point just a little over a year, very fascinated with the international aspect of it in Vancouver. Of course, the final speech contests that were taking place, the top speakers in Toastmasters around the world, and the educational sessions, the panel discussions, and so on and so forth. But throughout the course of that particular event, I was in pain continuously. Number one, it was standing up. Walking was very painful, so the only release I would get would be sitting down, or like I said, laying down flat on my back. I remember the final day is the World Championship of Public Speaking, and about an hour before the ballroom opens, there are people standing in line. I mean, this place is just crowded. People who want to get a good seat in front of the speakers, that type of thing. So I was standing there in excruciating pain because I couldn't stand it anymore, but I endured it. As you can see here, it's a wonderful hotel, wonderful view. The convention center has this look of sails that extend out into Vancouver Harbor, the North Shore and all that. Just a beautiful sight. Now, when I got back to Dallas, I'd been doing some physical therapy and some stretches and that type of thing to try to relieve this back pain. When I got back, I realized something needed to be looked into. So I finally found a spine doctor at Baylor Hospital, and they did an MRI. I think most of you know what that is, an imaging that pretty much pinpointed what the problem was. And so I hope you don't get freaked out about this kind of thing, but this showed pretty clearly in my spine where the problem was occurring. In fact, this pinch point, oops, I'll just back up first, is where normally it's about 10 millimeters of passageway for the central nerve. Mine was down to about 2 or 3, so any flexure on that would pinch the nerve and cause this excruciating pain in my leg. So the solution, of course, it came around to surgery. Now, that was not going to be till December. In the meantime, pain was building. Actually, at that point in time, I was the VP of membership here in Best of Dallas Toastmasters, and by December, I couldn't stand it anymore. Unfortunately, Brett Johnson, who took over, Bill probably remembers him, took over for me as VP of membership, fortunately. But the surgery itself involved, which you can see here, putting these pins in the spine. It was a fusion process that fused the L3 and L4 vertebrae together, and then put these screws in to hold everything in place. Needless to say, it's not the most pleasant operation to endure. It was about a 4-hour procedure, and the recovery was almost as excruciating. It took about probably 3 weeks to even get back to walking decently, and relying on getting around with a walker and that type of thing. So a lot of rehab and that type of thing. But I want to just hold the talk right there for a moment and switch gears. Last week I was at the Toastmasters International Conference in Anaheim, California. And it was a wonderful conference, and the reason I went was sort of the same reasons in 2017, the finals, but the speech contests, the educational sessions, and so on and so forth. But the big one was that this is, many of you probably know, this is the 100th anniversary of Toastmasters. It was founded in 1924 by Dr. Ralph Smedley, and some wonderful events there. They had a special exhibit tracing the history of Toastmasters from 1924 through the 50s. In 1973 was a very milestone event because women there were finally admitted into Toastmasters. And in 1977, the World Championship of Public Speaking was won by a woman and happened to be blind as well, which was pretty remarkable. As you can see, I stayed at a Marriott hotel, coincidentally again. This time I could sleep on the bed, and furthermore I could walk around in the conference hall and actually wait for the doors to open for the final championship of public speaking. They had a nice little exhibit there, this little booth you could step into and simulate this photo of yourself on Toastmasters magazine. This is due to come out now real soon, but I don't think I'm going to be on the cover of Toastmasters magazine. But nonetheless, a wonderful experience. There were about 1,700 people attending from all over the world. Just some wonderful speeches that I'll come to here in a moment. But it was an experience that I think is one thing I'll just add is that there was, in this exhibit on the history of Toastmasters, there was some footage from the probably 50s, 60s from my generation showing what a Toastmasters meeting looked like in black and white. And I've got it, there's a YouTube video of it, and I was telling Joe before the meeting, if we had time to show it, it's about 10, 12 minutes long. It would be wonderful. These guys are smoking while they're talking, and these guys, it's all men, of course, and it's just hilarious how those meetings were conducted. So anyway, I just want to go on then and just talk a little bit about what it was like. The takeaway for this particular thing is just my appreciation for those that helped me during the time when I was going through this difficult time. And the message this evening for you is just remember probably those difficult times in your life, all those people that helped you through it. In my case, the doctors, my wife, of course, and many others. The reason I also want to mention this is that I saw this, what I was trying to do right now is replicate what I saw as the winning style for the speeches on the semifinals and the finals. They consist usually of an opening attention getter statement, secondly an experience or something that happened, and then relating that to a learning that the speaker was talking about, and then a message or a takeaway or something for the audience. And there were some very profound examples of that. The one was that I'll just cite is the winning speaker, the championship of public speaking, Louise Montalvo. She was injured in a severe automobile accident 3 years ago, and she was on stage giving her speech in a wheelchair. And afterwards, I learned that 3 years prior, before the accident, she actually won third place, and she had come back. This is a remarkable thing, and her speech was entitled 37 Strangers. She was talking about the fact that 37 strangers brought her back to life. She was passed out or unconscious for 6 minutes. The fact that 37 people cared about her life, and the idea being that you should care about your life. So the last thing I want to just share real quickly, running out of time, is to just talk about something from the 2017 conference. And this is about giving speeches and winning speeches. The fact that you should start with the story and then deliver the message. In other words, what this author was saying is that the big mistake is taking a message, looking for an experience. Start with the experience. And I saw this consistently in all the messages, in all the speeches there, and I would encourage all of us to, if you want a winning speech in an international speech contest, that's the way to do it. Back to you, Toastmaster Bianca.